Looks like we're going to get started with our first OCS playoff match here in just a minute or two. Just want to get the stream set up and running, make sure everything is going okay here. It's going to be between Wirfs and Zlorfik, also known as Chris Wirfs and Bastion Winklehouse, your defending world champion. It's about a little after 2 a.m. here, East Coast time. It's 11 p.m.-ish in Seattle, where Wirfs is from, and about 8 a.m. where Bastion's from in Germany. So quite a big time zone difference. So this was the time that these guys were able to coordinate playing. One of them staying up late, and one of them getting up a little early. And I think they're going to try and play one game today, and then do the same thing again tomorrow night. So hopefully we'll get some other guys. I know Tomas was trying to get the stream and stuff set up, but it doesn't look like he has all the access to everything. So we're going to get him the rest of the permissions and stuff that he needs so he can hopefully stream tomorrow night's game. And yeah, I can go back to bed. I was up all night. I was up late anyway. Season 3 of Daredevil just came out on Netflix this week, and I finally had a little time to watch a couple episodes of it. So let's see what we got going on here. Looks like Bastion's got, I guess this is his game that's up there. He's going to be dark. So this should be interesting to see what he picks, whether he's just going to play Black Sun while everybody, before any changes get made. Close this before I start dropping a bunch of frames. Get that out of the way. Yeah. All right. Let's do that. F11 to go full screen. And let's see what we got. Yep, there's the Throne Room Black Sun. Because it's kind of what we expected at this stage in the game, that we would see a number of people still playing these decks. They were obviously the most popular decks at Worlds. They were incredibly strong, carrying a number of players through to the top 8. And no surprise here that we see them again. Maybe there'll be some slight variations, a couple changes people have learned from Worlds. More people starting Imperial Decree. That's certainly a change that we saw a little bit more leading up, like right around at Worlds and the side events leading up to it. People had switched to using Imperial Decree as their third effect. A lot of light side decks had stopped running Clash because there was so much Crush the Rebellion floating around in a variety of dark side decks. And dark side was trying to minimize the force loss from using all their senses. Did I really wake up for this? I haven't gone to bed yet, so like I said, I was up catching up on a few episodes of the new season of Daredevil on Netflix that just came out. So I figured as long as I'm still awake before I go to bed, let me make sure this was all set up right. And unfortunately, we didn't get Tomas all the information and access stuff that he needed today so he could stream this game and do commentary. Apologies to Tomas for not getting you everything you needed for that. Hopefully you can join in at least in the Twitch chat and throw in some feedback and whatnot, and then we'll try and get everything we need to you so that you can do any future games for us on Twitch, especially with these crazy time zones that might come up. And for Lightside, Wirfs started Throne Room. He's doing the farm Throne Room, which is what we saw Joe Olsen and Phil, some of the other, really all the Endor guys were kind of set on the farm version. Instead of pulling docking bays, they pulled the farm. So then you get the used pile searches as well if you go to your locations. Of course, it still runs the JCC, Boss Nass, Battle Plains. So you actually have two battleground sites. So if you need to split up your guys, or it's a little bit less of a risk with like getting hit with like Expand the Empire, or if you get a site locked out with like an undercover spy or two, or something. I don't believe Wirfs and Bastion played each other at Worlds, but I can try and pull up the game list. I do know that Bastion won the Friday event and the main event, and Wirfs won Sunday the consolation event. So they were both incredibly successful that weekend. New season of Daredevil, not bad so far. It's off to kind of a slow start. I've only gotten through the first two episodes, but certainly has promise. Certainly a lot better than Iron Fist and Luke Cage have been. So excited to see if they can turn things around, because these Netflix shows have started to die off a little bit. Looks like Wirfs is going to get all his activation out real fast here. He's got the JCC and the Boss Nash Chamber, and he hits his farm pull. So he's going to have a huge activation bump going into turn 2. And that might force Bastion to play a little bit slower. I mean, obviously he can still do fanfare for the bounty, but in terms of just moving the prince and whatnot over, that could be risky, and we don't know necessarily if Wirfs is running a Yoda. He could pull a Yoda and then get a control tunnel vision and cancel the bounty, and that would, or could really ruin Bastion's day pretty quick. So Bastion plays Voyeur, named Speak with the Jedi Council. Makes Wirfs lose a force, so Wirfs has to lose. He loses the Speak because he doesn't need it anymore. Also in there, Bastion also played a Dark Time from hand, and since Wirfs went first, he had to lose a force, and he peeled a. He lost a Fly Casual. I'm trying to see if it was from hand or if you top decked it. Let's just see. He played. He top decked it. He top decked the Fly Casual. And then he played Rescue in the Clouds afterwards. Okay. So we'll get. Bastion's going to use Shadows and go dig out some sites. See whether he gets to 2-0 and tries to play maybe a little slower. And not give up any Coruscant battlegrounds just yet. With his opponent having 2-4 saved and already getting 10, he may not want to give up any battlegrounds if he's going to be at a force activation deficit. He may just go for the 2-0 here if he can. And just try and slow this game down a little bit before Throne Room starts stacking up all the Coruscant sites and just steamrolling it. Fly Casual obviously tells us that he's running a Tantive. Not really much of a surprise, since that seems to be the de facto light side ship of choice these days. It's typically Tantive Profundity or Tantive Falcon. Occasionally you'll see Tantive Rogue One, but Tantive is pretty much every deck specifically for this matchup, so you can turn Coruscant into a battle, get to Coruscant before it's a battleground, and then turn it into one. Yeah, he does pull the 2-0, and he took his time doing it, so he probably figured out what the 5 cards in his force pile are. Nice, free Emperor. Yeah, Bastion will slow down. Gets the Emperor, moves him, consolidates. Doesn't put the battlegrounds out. Draws a few cards, gets a more stable hand size to work with. Certainly fits his play style. If you've seen any of his games before in the past, you'll typically see him with a hand of like 17 to 20 cards by like the end of turn 3. He tends to draw a very big hand and then just have everything he needs to come at his opponent. He's one of those guys that if you happen to run Grimtosh against, you're in pretty good shape. But then again, in a deck that runs 3 to 4 copies of Sense, usually, it may not really get you very far. So I expect to see him draw a pretty big hand again this game, and trying to press card advantage against Wirfs. I've always wondered what exactly Zlorfik is. Is it from something? Does it just mean something in German? And you guys out there in the chat who are more familiar with our champ might know more about his Jump username. Do this real fast. See if I can go find the pairings from, see if they did play at all. He does play Yoda. Okay, so there we go. So that definitely was an even smarter move than not, putting the battlegrounds out, pulling Yoda, and then being able to pull a control tunnel vision. Could have deployed Yoda plus Luke plus Saber, and really just done some damage, some early damage. Let's see what we got. Friday, day 1. Emperor gets a Force Lightning. He's just moving cards around, looking through his deck. And then he'll cycle it back at the end of the turn. So then he can pull it again next turn. And just keep verifying his cards and knowing what's where. Wirfs and Bastion played on Friday. In the Friday event, they played game 3. Wirfs was dark, Bastion was light, which I'm guessing Bastion won because he was, I think he was 5-0 through the beginning, so. Zlorfik is some kind of a music band. Oh, okay. So maybe he's a fan. Was he part of the band? Because that would be awesome to find out that Bastion used to be in a like a rock band or something like that. I can totally picture him playing bass guitar now. All right. So Darkside's only getting 8 force, but they're about to change that. They're gonna probably pull at least 2 sites here, and then we could see uh, Emperor Prince slide over, possibly with 1 or more Vigos. He could fit Guri out as well with his 7 force. He's already got 12 in hand. Chances are he has at least 1 sense. It's one of those weird things where it's like you almost want to grab the Force Lightning just to stop him from doing it, but you don't want to ever waste your grabber on that. It's like if you had 2 grabbers, you might consider it. It might be a worthwhile thing just to slow down his ability to track his deck. He's still going to find ways to do it anyway because he's just that type of player, but... Alright, there's Guri. He used Shadows to draw a card so far, but hasn't used it to pull a sight. He's just going to draw and pass. I guess he's just going to stockpile up a bunch of guys and then worry about it then. The other interesting thing, too, with the Throne Room version of the farm version of Throne Room is that it gives them the ability to play neighbor leads because they're not running insurrection, they're not pulling docking bays. His username could also be related to a PC adventure game from the 1980s. That seems probably more likely than, but I like the idea of thinking that, once upon a time, Mr. Zlorfik was part of a rock band. Right, so Lightside's still out activating. They've got a nice little 11 to 8 advantage here, but they're pretty much out of locations. So it'd be a matter of whether they want it to, I mean, they could go to space, put the Tantive here, and then that would control and also add a light side icon. So that would add 2 icons. And then give them even more force activation. But instead he's going to deploy Luke. He'll get a use pile search from I Must Be Allowed to Speak, use Like My Father, and get the lightsaber out of the reserve deck. And that's what we're just talking about, where he has the flexibility to go this route because he could play Neighborn. Obviously, it could get sensed and canceled, but he's probably got at least 1 control tunnel vision, if not 2, in the deck, with Yoda being able to pull it or an altar to cancel sense. Evac control is another great card. Typically one of the best ways of clearing Luke with Black Sun is Boba Fett Bounty Hunter or Django, somebody who can draw multiple, who can add battle destinies. Oh, and a proficiency as well. Gonna boost that drain a little bit further. That was for the Commodore 64. Okay. And he's going to put Ray as well, get another use pile search. And he can finally draw that bottom card of his force pile that he's also been saving for 2 turns now. So he can start cycling cards off the bottom that he saved earlier. And Wirfs will draw a couple cards and then probably put one back with Luke. Hey, we got 9 people watching. Thanks for being up this early/late, guys. I know we're all excited to see some of these OCS playoff games. We've got 16 amazing players in this field, and really looking forward to seeing, the different deck choices that people make. Obviously, there's slightly different card pool available. I mean, it's like 97% of the cards are available, but curious to see. I know there is another shield just got added today, so hopefully that's bug free, because we would hate for someone to play that shield and then have a glitch or something like that, cancel a game. Hopefully you'd play it early enough in the game that it wouldn't get too far. But always the fears when there's a new card added that it's got a glitch in it that somehow ends up crashing the game out. Program Trap arrives at the farm. Yeah, Program Trap's always a pain in with this type of deck. All right, he's going to get all 3 of his Coruscant sites out. So now that Luke's been committed, he feels more comfortable being able to get all his sites out. They both jump up to 14 activation now, so we should see a little bit more. Things start to happen a little bit more quickly now, quicker. And he'll draw another card. He's proven me wrong thus far, though. He's staying under 12. Just move the Emperor over and then Prince and Guri. And we'll see if Mr. Wirfs has a neighbor up his sleeve. And then, of course, we know Zlorfik will have multiple senses and maybe playing Git combos that would also potentially cancel it. I don't know that this deck runs Masterful Move or anything to pull it, so they might be just running the Git combo because it's a higher destiny value. I was really smart. I'd just pull up their deck list from Worlds and see what these guys were using. But we're gonna assume that they may have made changes since Worlds to their deck lists. So we got 7 people watching the game in the Gemp channel, and 10 on Twitch. So that's awesome. I'm sure some of them are going to overlap, but it's just great to have this many people, you know, awake and active at this hour. But that's another beautiful thing about Gemp is that it's a 24/7 situation. There's always people online in different time zones or different work schedules. That not everybody works 9 to 5, so people get off work different hours, want to play some cards, and or you finally get the kids to bed or whatever you got going on, and get some card games in. We'll see if Wirfs pulls the. Don't do that. Yeah, he's gonna pull the shield there. Okay. Nothing worse than a Lost in the Wilderness or always thinking with your stomach to really ruin your day. No battle plan shield, so that will be a free drain that he will then add 2. And he'll get the drain for 3. Both players are already at 3 shield pulls, with them both pulling a grabber, both pulling fanfare, don't do that again, and both pulling one version of a sense alter shield. Zlorfik loses a Boba Fett bounty hunter from hand, and then top decks a Force Lightning and a Dark Time. I do believe, looking at some of the lists from Worlds, a lot of the guys in their Black Sun decks were running 2 copies of a Dark Time, as they were expecting Throne Room to be pretty popular, and obviously it was. And he'll put a card back, and now we'll see where Mr. Wirfs wants to go next. Does he want to go to Coruscant? Does he want to go to space? With Guri on the ground, he knows Guri wouldn't be in space, limiting him to 1 battle destiny. If he can set up, Tanev with Hera and a couple guys, Lando, something like that, that would give him options in space. Or whether he wants to, right now he's ahead on the drain race. Yep, he's just going to try and commit to the other Coruscant locations. He'll use EPP Obi and probably add at least 1, if not 2 other characters. We could see like Anakin Padme or Leia Padme or something. Oh, there's Anakin. And he'll probably try and squeeze out 1 more character and then draw 1 or 2 cards. Yeah, thanks, Justin. I kind of figured most people were playing Git combo, but I know that it's the more popular option, but obviously yes, Masterful Gik is still an option, especially if you had any concerns about celebration between Diplo and QMC. Or you just want more 6s in your deck and you're running non-combo Masterful. That could also work too. No extra character. He's going to save a bunch of Force though. He does have evac control, so that'll certainly help. And he's got a blaster deflection sitting on that, so he could potentially pick that up. Top deck Awisa to the free drain of 1. It certainly favors light side battle order not being on the table. Because now they're not paying. They've got 2 drains set up that they're not paying for, including the bigger drain. But with 18 force and a 12 card hand, I would expect Darkside to commit some characters here to this uplink station and try and get rid of Obi Anakin. The risk is certainly a lot smaller there. Obviously, both sites have a guy with a weapon, but there's less immunity to attrition over here. And obviously, if you do get into trouble, you have options between moving guys away or moving guys over. You know, if someone should get clashed. Interesting. He's going to go Zam outside. I wonder if we'll see him, yep, deploy someone in the middle, get the third battleground, use shadows, cause the 1 ping damage. I'll draw the card, force Wirfs to lose a card. Wirfs top decks a neighboring. A few of them were playing too, but if that was his one copy, that could be certainly a game changer right there, losing that so early. $14 force left to spend. He's got lots of options here still. I mean, well, we already lost 1 Boba Fett. You got to believe he's got another one in hand, because the one he lost was from hand. He didn't top deck it. He lost it from hand, which tells me usually when somebody loses a good character from their hand like that, it tells me they have 2 copies in their hand and they're just afraid of getting hit with a lost version of Grimtosh or something or whatnot. You don't just throw away your only Boba Fett bounty hunter. But with evac out, Boba Fett is not going to be nearly as effective. He's just 7 power, possibly hidden weapons though. That's another card that I did see looking over some of the lists from Worlds. Half the people weren't playing hidden weapons. I guess it was either a card feeling like something you just didn't need, or Lightside was running, 2 copies of Hear Me Baby in a lot of their versions anyway. So chances of it going through were not as good. If you go into P59 now, we'll see if a third character shows up and he battles this turn, or whether he just moves Zam back over in front. He's going to move the Prince over. I guess I'll move Guri as well. Yeah. Where the Prince goes, Guri goes. And then he's just going to draw a few. So he's going to stay spread out on the 3 battlegrounds there. So that way he can do a Shadows Paying next turn as well. He's at 12 cards in hand. And this is where he's going to think about whether or not he wants to go above it or not. Oh, he stays at 12. Interesting. It's very un-Bastion-like for him to stay with just a 12-card hand. He uses Wipe to activate 1. We'll see. I guess he'll wait until after the drain then. He'll lose a card or 2 from hand, and then draw 1 with Shadows. So he's got to lose 3. He could have pulled resistance and capped that drain at 2, but then he'd be completely shield busted. And unless he's got cold feet or something handy, he wouldn't have any way to stop any type of retrieval, which may also be a concern. Wanting access to secret plans or coward. So he pitches an Emperor from hand and then top decks a double back and a barrier, and then uses shadows to draw a card and get back to 12, as expected. And Wirfs loses an escape pod combo from hand. Drops a card from hand with Like My Father, so he's got 19 force to spend this turn. And Obi and Anakin slightly outpowered, 18 to 10. He certainly does have options, though. He could drop 2 or 3 characters and go for the big battle. He could drop Tanev, shuttle Anakin up, move Obi in front of Zam, or the Emperor. You could go either way. He's going to use Rey to draw the bottom card of his force pile first. So he puts a card on top with Luke and then draws the bottom one off. Again, seeing fresh cards, not being stuck with the same cards. Alright, we're going for the big battle approach. We're going to get a Qui-Gon with lightsaber. See if that draws out the bounty. It's going to draw out a barrier. Okay. You already top deck 1 barrier. So Qui-Gon's going to get excluded. There was a slight bug earlier this week too with barrier and the bounty. If he pulls the weapons display shield and still battles, and like someone got barriered and someone got bountied, it was only making him lose 2 force, not 4. And that could certainly come into play here. Although Decree might also reduce that as well, wouldn't it? Yeah, you could reduce the damage from 2 down to 1 with Decree. Interesting. Oh, Jyn Erso's out. Yeah, there's the weapons display. Jin's gonna go block the drain in front of Zam. So that would be the 4th shield pull now for Mr. Wirfs. So he'll need a Hear Me Baby or a perimeter scan or something. We'll see if he wants to battle. It would only be 1 force loss with Decree. There's certainly a decent number of cards in the deck that are high destiny. We top decks a Zuckuss. As I talk about high destiny, P59 can take a shot at Anakin there, but he's going to swing at the Vigo, which is smart because he's got the lowest defense value but highest forfeit. Because Vigo forfeit +2 and present with the Prince there, so he'd be forfeit 6. So if he can hit Vigo, which he just did, Anakin adding 1 to the Battle Destiny draw, even if he draws a 4, it becomes a 5. That would be greater than P59's forfeit, so then Prince or Guri would still have to be lost anyway, probably Guri. So you still accomplish what you wanted to and get rid of those 2 characters. You just made sure you hit the easier one. But it wouldn't surprise me to see P50. He just took the Force Lightning into hand, taking a 5 out of his deck, but he let him count the number of other cards in his deck that have a chance of hitting Anakin or Obi. I'm sure he's got more 5s than 6s, but probably not by much because there's probably not too many 5s in this deck. He draws Probot. So light side's down 8 power right now, which is fine because that's just the forfeit of either of their characters. Likely to see them lose Obi with Qui-Gon already there, possibly having a resilience in hand just to take Obi right back. Oh, he draws Mace Windu. Curious. I've been wondering if we would start seeing more Mace Windus pop up if Black Sun was going to continue to be strong. Oh, he gets lucky. Dark Side also draws low and draws the 2. So same result. They're both at 8 power. But by drawing low there, P59 would cover the difference. But yeah, as I was saying, I was wondering if we were going to start seeing more Mace Windus pop up in throne room decks. Whether or not you play the lightsaber or not, just the fact that Fets may not add Battle Destiny draws here is pretty important because it gets both Boba and Jango. So actually the 2, as pointed out, they're all immune. Guri's immune to less than 5 when she's with the... Well, Vader's not there. Yeah. Actually, that's just a separate sentence. She's just immune to less than 5. And so is the Prince. He's immune to less than 5 when Vader's not there. So yeah, so no forfeit. So that's a bad Destiny draw for light side. Thank you for pointing that out. Oh, that was Tomas. Thanks for that. When he spends a Hear Me Baby to get Battle Plan out. Okay. Oh, this could be rough. Zlorfik plays Voyeur and names Hear Me Baby. Now gets to look at all 15 cards in Wirfs' used pile, which go back in that same order. So with only 3 cards on top there, he's going to have a pretty good idea of if he were to battle or things, what cards are very likely to end up being used and drawn for Destiny the next turn or two, and what cards are going to be on the bottom that would possibly be at the top of his reserve deck the following turn. So if you can start thinking next level, he's going to play it used. And Wirfs is going to throw away a Jedi Luke and then draw another card or 2. Yeah, pulling Battle Plan there seems fairly risky. or unnecessary, shall we say. I mean, he's got a drain of 3. His opponent has a drain of 1. I mean, yes, it's unlikely he's going to spend the 3 force to do this drain here, but I feel like you're hurting yourself more in the long run. I kind of want to make him pull that 4th shield. He's going to Ellis P59 to the farm during the activate phase. That's interesting. I'm pretty sure Luke's immune to disarmed, right? So, yeah, may not be disarmed. We can see P59 get program trapped. And now that he knows the cards that are in Wirfs' used pile and the order in which he would potentially draw them, plus his own cards here and what order he might draw them in, yeah. I have a feeling we may see a battle at one of these locations, knowing that the cards that are going to end up getting drawn would be something that would trigger the program trap and clear all this out. The question is whether or not Mr. Wirfs has a, they're tracking us to cancel that. Doesn't look like he does. It's not immune to alter. If Yoda has an alter up his sleeve. Unlikely, but you never know. Yeah, and some of the guys at Worlds were running 2 copies of Program Trap in their Black Sun decks because it's a very efficient way of clearing out large groups of characters. Usually you don't see it on a droid that can be battled, but I guess he's got something up his sleeve here. P59 takes the shot at Rey. There's the 3, it's the Voyeur. Boom goes the trap. Everybody go bye-bye. And he wisely shot Rey, so couldn't get blaster deflected. And that will also flip the Black Sun objective, which will let him look at cards on the top of either reserve deck, I believe is what that says. Any reserve deck, number of locations you occupy. He currently occupies 4 locations, so he could look at the top 4 cards of this reserve deck, and then he would note he doesn't know what the 3 cards were, but he does know the 15 that were recycled underneath it. So if he uses his objective here, verifies the top 3 cards of his opponent's reserve deck, he would then know every card in order that Wirfs has left. He's going to look at his own, though, instead, seeing what those 4 cards are and their respective order, and then I guess determine how he wants to proceed here. Zam stuck inside in the sewer. He could shuttle Guri up and then move the Prince back to the Emperor. Oh, he's going to shuttle the Prince up too. Does the ping damage work in space? Each battleground location occupied. Doesn't have to be a site. Interesting. And you only flip if Luke is at a battleground or if the Prince is not on table. Okay. That's interesting. He does maintain his 3 battlegrounds in the process, because now he's got a Black Sun agent on Coruscant. While you occupy with a Black Sun agent or ISB agent, gains a light side and dark side icon. You'll notice that they went from 14 each to now 15 each, plus the extra one from Qui-Gon who came down last turn, making this 16. Yeah, and now Battle Plan seems to have backfired a little bit on Wirfs here. I'm sure he wanted to get the shield. He was trying to get the Hearing Baby out of his hand so he could draw another card or two. But I'm sure there were other shields that would have been just as useful. Possibly even just something just basic like aim high, just to make him, spend 1 or 2 force if he wants to retrieve anything, whether it's down the road with firepower or the sewer. But still pretty close on life force counts. They both have about the same number of cards in hand, and yeah, I think Zlorfik's ahead by 1 in hand and 1 face down. So still pretty close game here. And I guess now we'll see how light side responds. If they have any type of Tantive that they want to go do something with, or Profundity would be super cheap now. Or whether they'll just try and be content to just, if they're just content to try and race at this point, they're going to be behind. Because the Drain 2 here is getting matched by 1, and this is the site that gets a bonus, right? Oh no, it is the site that he's at here. This is the one that gets the bonus. So it's 1 and 1, but then you get the Shadows ping on both turns, causing 2 more force loss. And that's where, what seems like a pretty even game, where Darkside will start to pull ahead. And it's one of the things that people keep bringing up in the competitive balance forum about Black Sun being too strong, is the pinging on both turns. And possibly being something that could be looked at to try and tone it down, whether it's just limiting it to just dark side turn or just a specific phase, like control phase or something like that. So dark side can't like deploy a guy and then ping to do damage and then move away, or vice versa, just move like one guy over to the ping and then move the second guy over to follow. Yeah, it's these guys will play 2 games, and differential and stuff will matter, and so will lost pile counts and things like that. So they'll each play a full match, light side and dark side. They agreed to play game 2 at the same time tomorrow. Saturday night / Sunday morning. And it doesn't look like, the thought process hopefully had been as if the game 1 had gone rather quickly, maybe they just would have tried to squeeze game 2 in and just get them both done and out of the way. But once you kind of see the matchup, you're like, oh no, this game's going to take at least an hour. Yeah, this must be nice. You guys get to wake up, have some breakfast, and watch some Star Wars. It's a good deal. And there's an NFL game in London this week too, so you get some American football action. Wirfs will pay the 3, do the drain at 2. hopefully everybody filled out their fantasy bracket prediction contest as well. That was up on the forums Wednesday after we did the live draft and the pairings. Certainly have a contest going for that as always, and we'll give out some couple extra OCS foils to some people. A good opportunity for people who may not have had a chance to play in as many games to pick up some of the foils. So he's going to lose. He's going to top deck 2 to the drain. He loses Cad Bane and Probot, and then he'll activate 1 with Wipe, and we'll see him draw a card there. That's the other beautiful thing about this deck and the shadows and the manipulation is to let you track around key interrupts and things like that. A card like Voyeur is probably going to end up coming back 4 or 5 times over the course of this game to cause some force loss. Chewy Enraged. During your turn, target 1 Imperial of power less than 5 present. Target's game text canceled for remainder of turn. It's pretty awesome. Chewy's going to get barriered, but Chewy could still use his game text to cancel the Emperor's game text, which would then prevent the Emperor from using Force Lightning or being immune to attrition. And that would be a good way for any random jabroni to come down and clear the Emperor out. Of course, in this case, he's going to use Luke, but he didn't need to use Luke. I'll put a card back with Like My Father. See if he runs a second lightsaber, or whether he lost his only saber from now on. It might just be floating around too, and you know, all these cards that he had to use active and things like that. Lightsaber draw their fire would be huge here, because he already burned Wipe. And the barrier, so he's got no force left. I do know a couple people were running Draw Their Fire as a good counter, because Black Sun does rely heavily on a number of interrupts, and using Wipe and using the Shadows mechanism to draw cards from Force Pile, you can kind of force them into a situation mid to late game where they cannot save force or have to use it and have to be a lot more selective with it. And then if you can get a good battle in. Alright, so Jin's going to take on Zam. That should just be a free clear. There's no cards in force pile for him to draw. And when Jin leaves the table, he'll get a look. Wirfs will get a look at Zlorfik's hand. He's going to retrieve the agent now. I guess before he gets knocked off 2 battlegrounds, in case he's got another Hear Me Baby to pull simple tricks. He's going to grab Cad Bane back. May also need Cad Bane to go blank Luke's immunity, because we know the Emperor is pretty likely to die there. He draws Luke's lightsaber for Battle Destiny. Wow, okay, so he obviously runs a second lightsaber, and there it is. But fortunately, oh, he also draws a 1. Fortunately, Zam has no immunity, so that will still clear. And when Jin leaves the table, he will get to peek and see all 12 cards in hand there. Oh, English nationals are today. Okay. Well, good luck, Paul and Angelo. I know Silverglen said he wasn't able to make it, but hopefully Huge and some of the other Irish, Welsh guys can make it over there. And now Luke will battle. Chewie gets excluded. We'll get one force loss there from Decree reducing it. He throws a sense away. And then we'll definitely see the Emperor dying here, unless there's like a close call up his sleeve or something. Wow. All right. That'll definitely guarantee the Emperor's going away. He draws a 4, so no overflow. Would have been really hard. I mean, even if he had drawn a 1, it wouldn't really have gotten much, but actually I don't think he would have gotten any because it would have been 14 to 5, 9, and the Emperor covers that. So yeah, no. All right, so Emperor no longer on Coruscant. Shadow's ping no longer available. Battle plan in effect. Maintenance paid for Chewie. Chewie only targets Imperials. Game text canceled. And this only works with Han or Leia. So a lot of this stuff will not be at all useful other than just messing with the Emperor. There shouldn't be any other Imperials in the deck. There can't be any other Imperials in the deck. Yeah, you're right. That was a good turn for light side. Certainly got some board position, board control back. Unlikely that dark side pays to drain here for just the 1. They're going to need to get the Emperor back down. The only place he can go would be here. View control Emperor may not deploy to Coruscant. That'd be a risky move. Let Chewie go, not use the 2 maintenance, and then just pay 1 and slide Yoda over to the O2 site. Then the Emperor can't redeploy. But of course, you know, he's got 14 force and 11 cards in hand. Emperor, or a bunch of other guys could still deploy there. And then he wouldn't control it, and then the Emperor can go somewhere else. But, and we know Wirfs did get a look at his hand when Jin died, so that would also give him clear indication about whether something like a Boba Fett and a hidden weapons or anything like that was going to come down, where keeping Chewie would be a liability. You know, if Luke was going to get hidden weapons, then Chewie was going to be kind of hung out to dry by himself. Getting a peek at his hand would certainly give him that information. Now, he can't draw a card either because he needs the Emperor on Coruscant to use shadows to draw. So it's that was a very good turn. It might be just a turn that that Wirfs needed to get this game going back in his favor. It looked like Zlorfik had started to take a little bit of control here, but that's usually what we see with these this matchup, Black Sun Throne Room, is they kind of go back and forth for a little bit, and it, you know, comes down to who gets some better character clears and some better destiny draws. So we do see the Emperor deploy to the sewer. So we have talked about a little bit. Was very likely to happen. I'm sure with 5 Emperors in his deck. We've only seen 2 hit the lost pile so far, so it's a pretty safe bet that another Emperor was coming right back down. But at full price, that will limit dark side's options for this turn. He does drop Boba Fett. Trying to think what other bounty hunter. Aren't many bounty hunters. I mean, like Bosk or something. Somebody small. He might be able to squeeze out, but oh, he's just going to shuttle the Prince back down. Okay, it kind of works. We know he drew Luke's lightsaber for Battle Destiny, so it's near the top of his reserve deck. He could use. He hasn't used Yoda yet. He hasn't used his Don't Do That Again yet, so he could try and shuffle his deck and see if maybe he can move the lightsaber closer to the bottom. So he might have a shot at pulling it. But he does get the 3rd battleground back, so he will go ahead and do the Shadows Ping and cause 1 more force loss. Probably be one of those used pile cards. Yeah, let's run Luke run out of the used pile. Okay. He's got to pay 2 for maintenance to keep Boba alive. And then he's going to need at least to save 1 for bounty and or barriers. Both players still have 30 minutes on their clocks, so we're not going to worry about timing out just yet. This game should finish with plenty of time to spare. Excuse me. I apologize if you guys heard that. Zlorfik's going to go to draw phase. Wirfs is going to play a Wisa, cycle a 5 back, shuffle his deck. So that's another way to shuffle his deck. Also sets him up for a 5 there, which would get turned into a 6. Should he decide to battle. And if you can find a way to get a 2nd Battle Destiny, presumably with Lando. He could pretty much guarantee clearing this site then, if he misses the saber pull, or doesn't opt to look for it and just, he can activate pretty close to the 5. He can get 16 force, so he'll have 2 on top of it that he'd have to work through. So he would need a weapon, or he could just go look for the saber and then shuffle it around and see what the 4 cards are. It's throne room, so chances are they're all pretty good destinies. no force saved, so he can activate one with wipe, but he may still find himself now. Zlorfik may find himself getting caught here again without force to spare. So he's got one force available to him. He can prevent one character from joining this battle. I think Chewie just forfeits for 6, right? Yeah, so no bonus to Chewie's forfeit. Ignore my post, it's late. Okay, well good. I'm glad I didn't miss something that, or that you think I missed something, because, you know, I'm probably about as punchy as you are at 3 a.m., so. He top decks another Wisa. So he had 2 Wisas in those 4 cards, but he's really just trying to get to the Wisa that he knows is there. No force available, so this could be a big opportunity for Lightside to break this game open. He's going to go look for Boss Nass, see what those 3 cards are. We know one of them is a 5. What are the other 2? And is one of them the lightsaber? Probably not. Oh, Bastion just said something about 6 Lukes in the chat, so that makes me think that there's some Lukes in those destinies. He'll pay 3 and drain for 2. Keep the pressure on, keep peeling cards away. See where these 2 force come from. Ellison Hinthra from hand. Force push from hand. We get Solo. Adds a Battle Destiny if with Chewie or Rey, and then Chewie adds 2 to your Battle Destiny draw while with Han, and then Luke adds a Battle Destiny, or adds to each Battle Destiny, so he's drawing 2 Battle Destiny. Hera joins the battle now. Hera's going to add a 3rd Battle Destiny, and each of those Battle Destiny draws is going to be +3 between Chewie and Like My Father. We know there's at least a 5 and probably a 6 in there, Jedi Luke. So this is definitely going to clear the site and facilitate a GIC, I would imagine. These guys covered 12, but we're talking about, yeah, quite a bit. Quite a bit of destinies being added to, and I mean, they're both drawing. He's only getting 2 here because the Prince isn't a bounty hunter, so it's 3 Battle Destiny versus 2, and he's adding 3 to each, so no reason to use evac or anything like that. And hopefully he can get out of here with just pitching like Chewie or something. That's what Wirfs is hoping, of course, that he can only have to pitch Chewy, possibly Chewy and Hera if he draws like 8 or something like that. The worst case would be if he drew 7 and he'd have to lose just solo. I mean, that'd still be good because obviously you've got Hera there and whatnot, but you kind of want to keep solo around until you get an opportunity to use his lost pile text. And there comes the battle. See if anybody has any tricks up their sleeve, or we're just going to Destinies, but we expect Lightside is going to draw a mountain of Battle Destiny here. I mean, they're starting at 9, and they're drawing 3. We know one of them's at least a 5. I mean, he's basically going to be at like 25. All right, so there's a 4, which becomes a 7. And this is going to be, there's a 6, 10, Luisa's in there for 15. And he adds 9 to that, 24. So he basically doubled up. He was at 23. He should be up to 47 now. Darkside draws 4 and 1. That was the ideal situation for Lightside, because now they can pitch just one character, either Chewy or Hera. He's going to lose Hera, and he's going to continue to pay the maintenance on Chewy. Okay. And now Darkside's going to have to lose both characters, and since they've already used their lost pile function, will not be retrieving the prince and will not be flipping their objective ever for the remainder of this game. He top decked Django from used pile before losing Boba Fett. I can't imagine why he would do that if he had the kick. Does he not have the kick? Is this game? He's got 23 battle damage. He loses the prince. That takes him down to 17. He's got 26 cards remaining, so he could still peel most of his hand away if he doesn't have the Gick, and then just at least try and grind out another drain or two. He's losing the he doesn't have the Gick. Wow. Oh, he's just peeling cards now. There goes the bounty that he never played. There goes a sense. There goes a Greedo. All those cards in hand, all game, and he didn't have the kick. Now he loses the prince. And he's got 14 battle damage left to forfeit. Well, Wirfs knew his hand like a turn and a half ago. He did draw a couple cards with shadows, so. No, he never played the bounty. I mean, I know it cost a force, and he kept using it, but he could have done the bounty instead of a barrier. But I guess he was afraid the bounty was more likely to get canceled because Yoda was out, and there was a control tunnel vision possibility. I don't know. Maybe he just didn't have his morning coffee. It's a little too early for him. But wow, that's this is obviously going to be the end of the game now. It's just going to be a matter of whether he can cut another card or two from differentials. He still has to peel 9 more. He's got 14, so he's got 8. So he'll be left with 9 at the end of this. We'll probably see him spend 1 then and slide one of these 2 characters in front of the Emperor to block that drain. So then he's only getting drained for the 1 in space. You can put Walkling out of play to retrieve a force. He could even lose a force and send Chewie used to put Chewie back in his deck as well. Lose a card from hand. I mean, we're not over just yet. I mean, he's only doing, you know, if he loses Chewie, then he loses his ability to drain for 2 here. So he has a press if it's free. Oh, that's true. That is true. It is an immediate effect, so immediate effects would be free. Good call. He wasn't expecting the 3rd. All right, Sebastian just posted in chat that he wasn't expecting the 3rd Destiny. I guess he wasn't expecting Hera to add a 3rd Battle Destiny. Or didn't remember that Hera adds a Battle Destiny one with 2 other rebels. And that he should have gone through playing the bounty to get controlled, which he then would sense. And going through all those steps there. Obviously, it's going to cost him quite a bit of force here. And could set up light side for like a potential win, you know, but in the 18 to 20 card range. He top decks a whole bunch more. There goes the Gick from the used pile. He's down to 3 cards in hand and 6 in life force. And now we'll see what Wirfs wants to do. He's going to move the Yoda over, maximizing the drain. He's going to move Qui-Gon in front of the Emperor, blocking that drain. He'll recycle, and he will pay the 2 maintenance for Chewie. We should see at least Sebastian. He could pull secret plans here, stop him from Walkling retrieval to get that 1 extra force back. And then just like draw up or suicide himself into Qui-Gon to just end the battle now before he can add any more to his differential and put any more cards in the loss pile. He's going to activate that last card. Wirfs should immediately Walkling and retrieve a force right now before anything else can happen. To get his total back up to 20. Nope, he's going to pass. He's going to go deploy phase. Zlorfik hasn't pulled a shield yet. Afra for free. Get a droid back. I don't think he's lost U3PO yet. I don't remember seeing him go by. Maybe he did. Quite a few cards flying off the top after that last battle there. could take P59 back and just throw P59 in front of Yoda. Yeah, I'll take P59 back. Throw him in front of Yoda or something like that just to block that drain of 2, or Obi. And put him in front of Obi to get an extra battleground. He's got 3 battlegrounds now. He could... He's going to program trap again. A second program trap. Okay. See if something gets drawn that pops that now. It's going to be hard for light side to draw anything that pops that. If they battle, because Chewie and Luke are automatic modifiers, so they're going to draw way over 4. But Darkseid could draw a 4. Shooting at a character, you know, shoot at Han, try and hit him, cause 2 more force loss, etc. Maybe he's just trying to see if he can just squeeze out an extra drain, an extra ping damage. He's got the 3 battlegrounds. He could do the ping damage right now. I mean, it's going to be a card from hand. But it does put more cards in the lost pile. Should lost pile counts come into play for game 2. He lost a force from a used pile. Yeah, I'm going to scratch my head on that one. With only 7 cards left, he's going to try and alter the program trap now. And draws a 3, which successfully clears it. Do or do not kicks in and makes him lose 2 force to his own card. So we'll throw away the Tanev. And the control tunnel vision. That cancels that program trap. Well, that'll be game when he battles P59, so... Darkseid can activate one with Wipe. He can then do 1 more ping damage with Shadows. He's got no force available to grab it. So he'll cycle the card back from hand, but he's still going to end up losing a force. He pulls resistance. This is a weird final like sequence of events here. This is not at all what I was expecting. He does Walkling to get the altar back. So that's going to put him back up to 20. And then he'll get Shadows down to 19. But I think he ends up with more cards in his lost pile, and he could have been at 20 if he didn't alter the program trap, because I mean he's got 8 cards left total, and that's 2 and well, it'll be 2 and 2 with resistance out. That would cut him down to 4. I'm sure Qui-Gon could hit the Emperor and cause 4 overflow and end the game right there. So these guys getting blown up over here probably wouldn't have made a difference. Oh yeah, I'm sure if you told Wirfs before this game that you know, hey, you can take a win by 19 with your light side deck over Black Sun, he'd have been pretty happy with that. He'd have taken that deal. I'm gonna pay 3, drain for 3, which will get capped to 2. There goes Cad Bane from hand and Dengar from hand. We'll see Obi drain. He should battle with Qui-Gon first and pick up a card. He could pick up Rescue in the Clouds. And then hopefully he peeks at a card that he can then take into hand. That he could... he doesn't have enough... Blaster Deflection wouldn't help when Chewie gets shot. See, he doesn't want to battle here because he doesn't want Chewie to get shot. And what's that? That's Jedi Lev, so he's not going to draw a character, and he's not going to use the Force to retrieve a guy. So yes, I guess he'd have to pick up Rescue in the Clouds. But I don't know that he'd ever really have a chance to play it. And yes, the altar, by waiting until the altar, the program trap deploy resolved, and then playing the altar, he did run the risk of blowing himself up with it. He could have picked up the... No, wouldn't have helped. I was like, pick up the Jedi Lev and then, yeah, get a character or something like that, because he's going to draw Padme for Destiny here, possibly. But it still doesn't make much of a difference. And Rescue wouldn't do anything. So yeah, there's no way to get a card back off evac to add one more card to his life force. I mean, he'll pick something up, I guess, just in case this doesn't end the battle. He's looking at the cards now to figure out which one is even worth taking. And as we just discovered, none of them are really going to make a difference. Rescue's the only one he has the potential to possibly put back. I didn't know you could think you could play that with that few cards in your deck. I thought you needed 3 to do it. Or maybe you just need 3 to be able to take one? That's interesting. Oh yeah, that's true. You could use Like My Father and then just put it down. And then I'll get a 3 for Battle Destiny there, which can't be modified or canceled or anything because of evac. Hey, there's you, 3PO. So light side's gonna, or dark side's gonna have to peel the Emperor and 2. Qui-Gon dies, adding another card to dark side, to light side's lost pile, but 1 from reserve. He lost another 1 from reserve. Yeah, obviously the Battle Destiny's not gonna matter, and he doesn't want to get drained. So now here's where he might have to do the, because it's once per battle, not once per turn, right? Yeah. So he could pick up a card with evac. Han gets shot at. And Han gets hit, and that'll cause 2 forced loss. Oh, he can Wisa from the lost pile and subtract 1. Haha. Awesome. Subtract 1, so then for his opponent misses, then use Like My Father and put the card in hand down, because he hasn't done that yet this turn. And that gets him to 21. or not. He'll just cause the overflow and win the game at 20. All right, so we could have had one more if he had put the card back, but he did not. So take a 20-force light side win for Wirfs with a plus 22 loss pile differential as well. And then we expect to see game 2 take place tomorrow night. Did he put a card down already at the beginning of the turn? Let's go back through the chat and find out. Maybe he did. Yeah, no, he didn't use like my father that turn to put a card back. So he could have dropped a card, could have gotten one more force. Nobody else has notified me that they've scheduled their matchup yet. I do know that Casey and Silverglen are having some potential issues because of schedules, because Silverglen is on vacation this week, and then Casey's on vacation next week. So they're going to try and find a time to play. Casey said he might actually have to play while he's in Las Vegas on vacation, because that just might be the only time. But then he's also 2 hours further away. So this should be interesting. But obviously these guys will play again tomorrow night, and we will see if Zlorfik can turn it around, and he'll need a win by at least 20, and then loss pile counts, but probably 21 in order to win. And we'll see what Wirfs has up his sleeve for Darkside. He did play Black Sun at Worlds, so we could see very well just see a mirror match or something. So that's going to end it for the broadcast tonight. Thank you guys very much for tuning in. Have a good night. Have a good morning. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday. I'm going to bed. So have a good night, guys.